Nah, but man, it's been a lot that's happened over the past week or so. I know we was all hoping for the D Hop news, OBJ, but we end up with Brandin Cooks, man. And then, I mean, obviously, a couple of days later, you see him taking that deal, restructuring it, lowering that cap hit, makes it even a greater deal, man. I'm loving it so far, man. I think, this is kind of like the icing on the cake. We addressed the wide receiver position. You see him early in the offseason. They go ahead and get us Stephon Gilmore. That's two of our weakest positions last year. And if you was to tell me season end, we come in there, we get this guy's this magnitude this early. I mean, good players, you know what I mean? So I'm excited, man. I think even if they was to not do anything from this point forward, I think we can go into this draft and kind of be set from where we are right now.
No, so with Brandin Cooks, let me break it down real quick. His new cap hit after the restructure this year is going to be 6.3, and it looks like they moved some of that money to 2024. I'm sorry, converted it to a signing bonus. We know that Houston ate 6. So basically, we give up a fifth for Cooks and a sixth for them to eat $6 million. And it's almost like at this point, Dallas is playing chess because I assume the D Hop market is not a fifth and a sixth. The Jalen Ramsey market was a third, and we get Gilmore for a fifth. You know what I mean? And it's cheaper that way.
Yeah.
So it's like the moves we're wanting them to make, they're making the same move, but like more strategically, if that makes sense. It's actually kind of smart. I'm impressed.
Nah, I like it.
And so 2024 Brandin Cooks is on the books for 13.5, but if it doesn't work out, he's a $6 million dead cap if we decide to cut him after the season, which is not terrible.
Nah, but looking at it, right? I just think he's a great fit for the offense. You know what I mean? Like D Hop, you think about him, I like face value. We all want a D Hop. You know what I mean? But this is a bigger receiver. I'm not sure if he's thriving off separation, but obviously it's a guy who catches everything. Who wouldn't let a head that in the room? And then you think about OBJ. Obviously explosive receiver. We don't know what OBJ we're going to get at this point. You know what I mean? As far as him, his injury history, and the last couple of years or whatnot. But you get a Brandin Cooks in here. One thing we always spoke about was speed. Like the Cowboys just lack speed. You finally get a guy who, can get in there, stretch the field, take the top off the defense. Not only that, he's a good route runner. He could fit into the slot, outside, inside, fits in well with CD Lamb. You know what I mean? So I think as far as for the offense, Dak, I think the main thing is just getting him another weapon, man. And when I look at it now, like, hey, offensive line. That's all I can think about. You know what I mean? Especially if we work this Jonathan Hankins thing out. The only thing that kind of worries me at this point is just going into the season with a Tyron Smith at left tackle. That might be the only thing. But even if we was to do so at this moment, it's not nothing I'm panicking over. Obviously until, injuries and things like that come into play. But I mean, if we just, day one, just starting off like this, I think, man, look, we hit another part.
No, we're definitely primed. The moves we've made, keeping our guys, trading for guys, signing guys, man, sets us up for success in the draft. Like we can truly go BPA. I do really think we're going to address running back in the draft. I don't know if that's day 1 or day 2, but like with Cooks, it's so crazy because you would assume Cooks is like 33, 34 years old. Like he just seems like he's been in the league forever because he's been everywhere. But he's actually only 29 years old and he'll turn 30 during the season. So we've got a guy probably just hitting the peak of his powers set to make the field. And if he can stay healthy, we saw the little impact TY was able to provide, same type of receiver there, but he had to have limited touches because of his age, his brittleness. He doesn't really know the offense. So you get Cooks in here, man. I would say a more improved version of a T.Y. Hilton, and we saw the effect that made immediately.
Yeah.
To the offensive line on that side of things, we signed Chuma Edoga, kid from the Jets, went to the Falcons, former third-round pick, only back in 2019. I assume he's going to take that swing tackle role, which kind of makes sense, I guess. It says his rookie year, he played 185 snaps at left tackle and 236 at right tackle. So he can play on either side. And then I see he sprinkled in at left guard a bit as well. So he is a nice little piece to have that you can put in wherever you need him.
I mean, at this point, we've kind of hit it out the park with, like I said, like the major moves, addressing the big needs. But then right now, obviously hitting on the depth right now. And then it's big, man. You get him in here. You get just bodies. You know what I mean? You take bodies at this point. You don't make nothing a glaring need. So now you look at it, it's like, are we really forced to draft a guard or a tackle? Yeah, if the right guy's there, cool. Same thing with Ronald Jones, getting him in here. I don't think that prevents us from snagging a John Robinson or Jamar Gibbs or any of these guys in the later round, man. I think that's the best part. And if Jackson Smith and the Jigma is there, hey, look, even though Cooks is in here, I'm hopping on that as well, man. So I'm just loving it from that, look of it, and just knowing that we can go anywhere with it, man. Fingers crossed. I'm still hoping, some Bobby Wagner news or something. I mean, they did move that money around, right? So I know the previous couple of times we was like, what they doing? What they doing with the money? And then, a couple of days later, some news that happened. So, hey, man, I know we got the post-June cut. Savings coming with Zeke. I think it's like an extra 10 mil that should push us up a little bit more. And then we got a lot to play with right now. So I do think it's something that's happening. I don't know how big it's going to be, but I don't think we're done yet.
I don't either. And I really do think I wouldn't mind trading for Bobby. I think that's like the final piece of this puzzle. But I do wonder what kind of deal he's willing to take, because I'm assuming he wants to be paid more. Or like, because with Bobby, is it just a trade and continue on with your deal, or are you looking for a new contract? So that part I guess we don't really know, but I assume that he would want more money. This would be like his last go, I do think, and I think it would be cool to see him and Dan Quinn reunite. I think that's fun. The we got 16 million in cap. That puts us at like 12th in the league, and I think Bobby would make the most sense. On the other side with the OBJ, if you told me like over under 5 million, I'm taking the under right now on his like market value. Because if he was getting hit with like 10 million right now, 8 million even, I think he would have been signed by now.
Yeah.
So I do think his market is very low. And I understand his side of it. Like, he's trying to soak up one more deal. He feels like he proved it in his prove it year last year. The year before, my apologies. And unfortunately, he had another ACL. So now he's back in the same situation. So he's kind of stuck with like this prove it deal. I can see him getting something maybe like 2-3 million, but it can reach 8 with incentives.
Yeah.
1 year deal, obviously.
But look, I would hop on that in a heartbeat too, man. It's crazy. Like I know we look at it and we're like, hey, look, are we out of the sweepstakes? We're not messing with a D Hop or OBJ. But just somewhere deep down inside, like, could we still make that happen? Like, possibly taking a Gallup and giving Arizona a 3rd round pick and just completely overhauling this thing, man. But with OBJ, just to stick on that point, I don't know if it's necessarily just the money. Obviously, you had the reports that somebody offered him $4 million a year. Was the Cowboy? Who knows? But I think the major thing with him is the years. I don't think he wants to play on another prove deal. I think he wants, somewhere around 2 or 3 years, somewhere that he can kind of stick to and call home for a little bit. So I think it's a little bit of both right there. But I think he can be had for fairly cheap. Obviously, I don't even know if it's 10 million right now. But you have a lot of teams interested. Right now, I'm hearing the Jets. I'm pretty sure the Patriots might be in on it. The Chiefs as well. You still got some good teams out there. And then you also hear that the Cleveland Browns are searching around in the market. They're trying to find a number 2 to Mark Cooper at the moment. So there's a lot of teams still in that market. But it's weird, right? We released Zeke. He leaves. We get a Ronald Jones in here. Kind of similar backs. I think he's 25. He's still got some juice in the tank. He didn't play last year. So I think they kind of released some of their tread on tires. But I do think this is a guy who could come in and give us some good snaps. But I also wouldn't be surprised if he's a camp body. He's not the guy just possibly just cut, going into the season. It's crazy.
That does, because we re-signed Dowdle as well. So what we got, Tony, we got Dowdle, we got Davis, and Ronald Jones. That's a pretty hefty running back room, actually. And Dallas, historically, we don't run with 4 guys. Usually it's 3, one on special teams.
Yeah, somebody ain't making it.
No, someone ain't making it.
But I still want to get a guy. So it's
that, and I wouldn't be surprised if we draft an offensive lineman or 2 and carry like 8 or 9 during the season. I do think we're at a point now where we do got to start drafting for the future at that position.
Oh, yeah.
So, you probably got to get another tackle, probably another center as well. Like, because I don't see us extending Biadasz, if I'm being honest. Like, do you think he's worthy of a second contract in Dallas?
I think so, man. I think if it's one player that improve, Biadasz and that center position, depending on who it is as far as centers coming in day one, I think Biadasz is a good center. He's like, up there in the top half of the league. He's not bad. He's not terrible.
Right.
I think he's a above average starter. But we got to realize that we can't have stars at every position, right?
Exactly.
It's glue guys like this that does matter. He seems very smart. Dak trusts him, and I think that stands for something. But it's weird, man. Like we always talked about as a guard, as a tackle. I do want to see something there. I like to see Tyler Smith possibly stick at left guard for a little bit more and possibly drop the left tackle. but it can go either way, and that's kind of the beauty of it. But we just kind of moving on from that. You see your boy Dalton Schultz move on finally.
Mm-hmm.
He get the 1 million per year and 1 year and 9 million per year. It seems that his agent. I don't know. They just kind of dropped the ball on this one.
Oh
You,
yeah.
you hear reports Dallas they dropped it was 3 years, 36 million. He could have got his 12 million per year with us. He rejected that, and then obviously the market dried up on him. Now, how do you feel about him finally leaving out the door? It is weird to see fans bagging him a little bit. I think he deserves a little bit more than that, a little bit more respect. I appreciate him. He was a 4th-round pick, exceeded all expectations and whatnot. But I'm feeling good at the end of the day.
No, Schultz, man, he's a good player. He was fun, and he kind of obviously he's not Jason Witten. That's a one of a kind player, but he clicked in this offense and filled those shoes that we had hoped Blake Jarwin would fill. But unfortunately, I do think his time had come in Dallas, because I don't think I want Dalton Schultz for 3 years, $36 million. I'd rather, we saw flashes in both young tight ends last season, and Ferguson and Hendershot. So I think you carry on with those guys, maybe draft a guy, which is what I was with Biotis. If we can draft a center and just create the competition, what if we can draft a guy in the 4th round that outplays Biotis, then we don't have to re-sign him? You know what I mean? Kind of get that competition in there.
Facts.
That's kind of where I'm at.
Even right there, I'm not opposed to. I'm kind of leaning that way actually. Like a Darnell Washington or a Kincaid, one of these guys, if they're there, I feel like all options on the table. Now, from a scheme standpoint of what we're doing right now in the offseason, do I want to draft a tight end in the 1st round? I'm not leaning that way, but I mean, this BPA and this, then I'm all for it, man. But I am excited to see what Jake Ferguson and Hendershot can bring to the table. They flash, you know what I mean? And I think, Ferguson, you see him get a stamp from Travis Kelce, man. So, obviously people see some potential in him. I think Dallas does as well. Obviously, seeing how they just kind of was just all hands off deck, like, hey, Don Schultz, you want to leave? Go ahead. I think it showed you the belief that they have in these guys in the room, man. And I'm excited to see what they can do.
And we re-signed Dante Fowler. I think I may have mentioned that already. So we're working on Hankins. You said that a little while ago, man. It looks like we're going to maintain some of this depth on this defensive front, man. And that's important, because that's a position we probably don't even truly have to address in the draft.
We deep.
Like BPA, obviously. If Van Ness is there, sign me up. You know what I'm saying? But
Nolan Smith, hey,
right. If one of the Jalen Carter,
let's do it.
If one of those guys falls, obviously you take them. But we're in a prime spot to really fill depth in places we didn't have depth in previous seasons. Which I do think, if you look at last year's draft, when we went all defense, right, for the most part,
right,
we kind of already did phase 1. This is phase 2 now. You know what I mean?
Oh, hell yeah. just keep feeding the chef, man. I mean, right. I see Dan Quinn. He out there working. Who was it? I just seen him working with recently. Was it USC Pro Day? I think he was out there working with the defense ends. You hear him out there working with Luke Van Ness. Obviously, he likes some of these guys, man. So, you know what I mean? But I get a feeling that it's probably going to be a Mike McCarthy-led draft. Honestly, I think we'll be heavy in the trenches. Offensive weapons, running backs, receivers. I could see another body at each of those levels, to be honest. And with even the possibility of still a backup quarterback, even though Cooper Rush just came back. What Cooper Rush get? Was it a 1 year deal?
No, I think we got him for 2. I can pull that up real quick.
I mean, still, you can get a 3rd guy in there, young guy. Possibly won't be higher. But still maybe in the later rounds, like 4th or 5th. I think that's not enough to table at this point. Maybe we should hop out there and reach out to a Robbie Gold, something like that. We do need a kicker. I ain't trying to deal with the whole, going deep into the offseason and kind of having that stress again. Like last year, we had to bring Meyer back at the last minute. But, outside of that, though, I think we're good. I do want to get Hankins back. But if we're talking about Fowler, man, Fowler's a beast. This is probably all the moves we made, it's probably one of our most underrated signings. This is a guy who had 7 sacks on the year. I mean, and limited player time at that. You know what I mean? So I think if anything happens, Armstrong, he's out. Like you say, my boy D-Law, he goes out, man. Fowler can step in, you know what I mean, and make it happen, man. So I like
that's
the
not
signing.
even
I love it.
That's not even to mention we get to see Sam Williams in year 2, man.
Hopefully he starts. For real.
Yeah, it looks like we caught Fowler on the vet minimum too. Cooper Rush, he signed for 2 years, $5 million, but only 2.7 guaranteed. So he's actually under $1 million to cut next season. So I do assume we draft a guy at backup. That does make sense.
Pennies on the dollar, man. Hey, Catboy working right now. I give it to him. Credit. Look,
No,
credit due, man. I feel good, man.
this has been the most, I'd say, eventful offseason we've had in a very long time. And
Oh yeah.
I think they're making really smart moves. And it's, like I said before, it's really impressive, like how they've handled this. And it's all been very quiet for the most part as well, which is out of character.
Yeah, but in the previous years, it's always been those deals. Like even like previously, like you think about D Hop, like D Hop for a third round pick. Why can't we make those moves?
Mm-hmm.
And you see certain guys moving around in this. We always kind of set back. It was like, damn, why we ain't give up a fifth round, sixth round pick to, I mean, this is like impact players. It's not just
Right.
flipping these picks over and going and get like, one of these borderline average starters. Can you play for me? Can you not? Now these are guys that's gonna come in. They're gonna contribute right away. And just the fact that we kind of changed that approach. I don't know if it's a Mike McCarthy thing. I don't know if Jerry finally was like, hey, scratch it. But it finally seems like they're starting to move some of these chips to the middle of the table. Realize like you do have to win now. You do have a quarterback. You do have a roster that's not getting older, man. So take advantage, man. But I will say, if I was to ask you this one question, so far, what do you think the biggest acquisition has been this offseason?
Oof. I think it's Stephon Gilmore. I like that move a lot. I think it shores up what was probably our biggest vulnerability on defense. You saw what happened once Anthony Brown went out. Also having Jordan Lewis out last season, like targeting that side of the field, man, just we got torched. And it wasn't anybody's fault. Like Kelvin Joseph, he couldn't do it. Xavier Rhodes couldn't do it. We saw flashes from the young guys, but you get a veteran in there that like for a fact can stop all
Yeah.
that and allow those rookies to play in rookie roles. You know what I mean? So I think it's important for the growth of those guys as well. I love that move like a lot.
You can't go wrong with it, man. And it's crazy because it's like I think I would have to agree with you from a player aspect, but I'm also thinking of the overall thing. And I just think, man, the main thing, man, coming into the season, like what was our biggest word? For me, it was Dan Quinn. Like I
Right.
was like, man, like we can't lose DQ. And the minute he came back, man, and then you add on top of everything that we've done. Like, you know what I mean? And I think about the safety room and fucking Donovan Wilson and Fowler. I truly think some of these guys, man, they just love playing for DQ, man. So they're gonna come back. We're gonna find some guys that just want to sign for a little bit cheaper and just be a part of something that we building over here, man. And so far so good. I'm anxious to see what Mike McCarthy is going to do on the flip side of that. Dak, he's saying all the right things. But I think, once this draft happens and the type of players we draft, the receivers, we'll see if they kind of stick with the just traditional things they've been doing. Or, will they shift to some of these running backs? Like, is they going to embrace this West Coast thing? And I think we'll have a better look at what's going on, happen and what's the identity going to be, heading to the season.